In the year 3434 of the Second Age, Sauron, the enemy of the free peoples of Middle-earth, was defeated. Isildur, who had slain the Dark Lord, secured the One Ring for himself, opting to keep it, as opposed to casting the ring into the fires of Orodruin, which would have destroyed the ring and the spirit of Sauron permanently. After the defeat of Sauron in the War of the Last Alliance, Isildur, who was heir to the throne of Gondor, returned to the Southern Kingdom. He proclaimed himself as sovereign leader of Arnor in the north, as well as Gondor in the south. Isildur spent the first year of the Third Age in Gondor, where he restored order and defined the bounds of the realm. After spending a year south in Gondor, Isildur felt he was now free to travel north to return to his own realm of Arnor. He prepared Valandil for sovereignty over Gondor before his departure. He was in haste and wished to go first to Imladris, for he had left his wife and youngest son there. Moreover, he had an urgent need for the Council of Elrond. He therefore determined to travel from the stronghold of Osgiliath up the Anduin and through the high pass to Rivendell. He knew the land well, since he travelled it often in the Second Age. Isildur expected to reach Rivendell in 40 days. With him were his sons Elendil, Aratan, and Cirion, as well as a company of Dunedain knights. They passed through Dagorlad, which had very recently endured the Great War. On the 30th day of their journey, on the northern borders of the Gladden Fields, the company of Isildur were in great spirits, as 3/4 of their long march was behind them. However, suddenly as the sun plunged into cloud, they heard the hideous cries of orcs. Witnessing them issuing from the forest, moving down the slopes, their number far outweighed that of the knights, approximately around 10 to 1. The hill terrain favoured the orcs, as Isildur felt a shadow of foreboding upon his heart. "The vengeance of Sauron lives on, though he may be dead," he said to his son Elendil. Whilst the orcs were drawing near, Isildur turned to his esquire Ohtar and presented him his father's broken sword, the Shards of Narsil, commanding the esquire to save it from capture by all means, even at the cost of him being labelled a coward who deserted the king. Isildur did not offer the ring. Along with the companion, the esquire Ohtar fled into the dark valley and disappeared. The orcs halted momentarily, preparing their assault. They let fly a hail of arrows, and suddenly, with a great shout, they hurled a great mass of their chief warriors against the Dunedain, who had erected a shield wall. But it stood firm. The arrows could not pierce the Numenorean armor. The onslaught had faltered, leaving the defenders of the ambush little harmed. The orcs retreated, as Isildur led his men to lower and flatter terrain, where the orcs would have less advantage. Isildur, who was familiar with orcish war tactics, believed that the orcs would give way, since their opponents were firm and menacing. He suspected they would send scouts to follow them and keep track of their camps. However, Isildur was mistaken. The orcs of the mountain were stiffened and commanded by a grim servant of Barad-dûr. And though it was unknown to the orcs, the ring, which was cut from Sauron's hand just 2 years prior, was burdened with Sauron's evil will. The ring called to Sauron's servants for their aid. The Dunedain had not yet travelled another mile when the orcs moved again, this time stealthily. The keen-eyed of the Dunedain were observant that the orcs were moving in stealth.
Quiet.
Elendil asked his father if the power of the ring could command the orcs. Isildur responded that he could not use the ring. He claimed that he dreads the pain of touching it, and that he has not yet found the strength of bending the ring to his will.
It is precious to me, though I buy it with a great pain.
He asserted that his pride had fallen in his possession, and the ring needs one greater than himself to wield it. He stated that the ring should go to the keepers of the three, referring to the elves. His intention was to provide the ring to Elrond. If he was successful, it would have changed the course of Middle-earth. Alas, as he spoke those words, sudden orc horns blurred, as orcs closed in from all sides and fiercely attacked the Dunedain. The outnumbered men stood little chance as hope faded. During the battle, Isildur's son Cirion had perished, and Aratan had suffered mortal wounds, attempting to defend his brother. Elendil had found his father and commanded him to take his burden at all costs to the elves, even if it meant abandoning his sons and kin to death. Isildur knew that this was what must be done. He feared the pain that the ring caused him. He also could not have left without the approval of his children. In what was their final moments together, Isildur asked his son for forgiveness. He knew that his pride had led him to his doom. A final embrace occurred before Isildur set the ring which hung from a chain to his finger. With a cry of pain, Isildur disappeared. All three of his sons had now perished in battle. Elendil, who should have afterwards been king, survived the longest. Isildur's youngest child would now carry the burden of continuing their bloodline. With great anguish for his kin and deep pain from the ring, the king travelled to the bottom of the valley. There he halted to confirm he was not pursued by the stalking orcs, for orcs could detect scent and did not need their eyes to hunt. Isildur was weary, and now at the banks of the Anduin River he stood for a while. Then in haste he removed his armor, except a short sword at his belt. Proceeding to enter the river, whilst in the water he noticed suddenly that the ring had abandoned him, going where he could never hope to find nor follow. Isildur's loss was overwhelming. He was in a trance. The mood eventually passed, and a great burden had been taken away. He was in pain no longer now. He swam to the riverbed and heaved his weary body out of the muddy water. Isildur was alone and lost in the wilds of Middle-earth. The lurking night-eyed orcs had spotted their prey. The orcs saw Isildur as a monstrous shadow. They loosened their poisoned arrows and fired at the king. They then needlessly fled, for they were terrified of him. Isildur, who was vulnerable and unsuspecting of the attack, was pierced through his heart and throat. Without a cry, he fell back into the water. No trace of him was ever found. His lifeless body was lost within the same river as the ring. So passed Isildur, the Lord of Arnor and Gondor, and the first victim of the Masterless Ring. I hope you enjoyed this canon video on Isildur's demise. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe so we can grow this channel together. I hope you have a great day wherever you are. As always, my Middle-earth friends, hold on there for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of Lord of the Rings Theory. Namari.
Embrace the power of the ring, or embrace your own destruction.
Renewed shall be